Hello, hello. Welcome to the 5Talents podcast. I'm your host, Abel Pacheco. I interview the top commercial real estate investors and industry experts so you can learn from their experiences. So if you're an investor, a high W-2 earner, or real estate or tech sales professional that wants to invest in real estate without having to manage properties or leave your day job, then this podcast is for you. Or if you're already investing in real estate, but you're doing it part-time and you want to become a full-time multifamily or full-time commercial real estate investor, this podcast is for you too. You're going to learn a ton. You will learn from real-life multifamily investors and other professionals in the industry. They're going to share their blueprints for success, and I'm super excited that you're here. So I hope you enjoy the show. Hello, hello. This is Abel Pacheco, your host for the 5Talents podcast. We have been blessed today with another amazing guest, Mr. Derek Alexandrenko. Derek, what's the word, brother? How's it going?
Doing well, man. Happy to be here with you.
Man, I'm super excited. I know Derek from our mastermind. We're part of the Kingdom REI Mastermind. It's a Christian real estate group, and known him for, I guess, almost a full year now, right? I think so, yep. Somewhere in that area. And I've been blessed to have you as a friend and kind of a co-mastermind on, founding member, kind of et cetera, and just super appreciative, man. And I'm super happy to hear you're doing some amazing things in the build to rent space. So we're lucky and excited to have you on this podcast. So for those that don't know Derek, I'll give you a few bullets and then I'll turn it over to him for an introduction. But he's got a real estate portfolio comprised of about $33 million worth of assets. So he definitely has a lot of experience in a lot of different areas in real estate. He's the manager of Hammerhead, and they're focused on a build to rent fund focused on creating multifamily assets. So they do single family dwellings, resulting in really nice communities, just like a community of houses for residents, except this one's build to rent. So we're excited to hear some of this and how he got into it. And he's got an amazing backstory. So we're going to ask him to share a little bit. But Derek, if I can turn it over to you, brother, tell us who you are and what you do in your own words, and we'll just start a great conversation.
Yeah, thanks, Abel. Yeah, I'm Derek Alexandrenko. I live in Louisiana, and I've been doing real estate for almost 20 years now. Started, like most of us, in the single family space. Bought my first house in college and fixed it up. Had some roommates move in, and ended up buying 3 of them on that same street by the time I graduated, and just kept on adding to it. So. But now, like you said, over the last few years, wanting to scale that up and joining the masterminds kind of got the wheels turning and came up with this fund, putting it together to scale it up and to have more impact that way. So I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, I'm super excited, to hear the fund opening up, and you guys are doing really big things. And this is a 506C, so we can talk about it a little bit, right?
It is a C, so we can talk about it.
Okay, that's cool, man. Well, why don't we start there? Let's start it, kind of at your fund, a super high level. I'm going to kind of go back to how you got started, but did you open it up officially, or is it coming soon, or what's the
coming soon? We have all the docs drawn up. We're taking soft commitments right now. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I'm just kind of moving it slow at first is because we actually are putting the first property into it. I already have it purchased on my own, and then we're just going to kind of put it in there, so it'll kind of have a head start, if you will, because we're more of a development fund. The development side is the most time-consuming portion, getting your entitlements and all that stuff. So our first one is 100 units. I went ahead and purchased that and took care of the entitlements individually, and then through that time of putting together the fund. So we'll just kind of plug that in there, and we'll be able to start construction on those.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. When are you trying to break ground?
Well, I actually... it's a little different because I actually have 4 of them being built right now.
Because it's already going.
Well, part of it was on an existing street, so I had some out parcels where I could already build. So I was like, well, I'm going to build those and start getting the rent on those. But the remaining 90-something lots, we're probably going to start in the next 2 months on those, doing the horizontal construction.
Oh, that's really great, man. That's really great. And size you said 100 units.
Mhm.
So does it operate somewhat like a multifamily 100 unit,
Yeah,
deals and numbers?
it's gonna run exactly like it. We're gonna have the same, property management, asset management setup, and they're all going to be rented. We're not going to have a mix of owners and renters in there. That way, we can maintain complete
100% rent.
control of how everyone's taken care of in there.
Yeah.
So that's the
You'll be
goal.
the
Yeah.
official HOA this time.
Right. There's no HOA. Now on the backside, if we decide to start selling them off, like as our
Yeah.
exit plan, we could always do that. That's the
Yeah.
nice thing about this. If single family prices skyrocket and that's where the value is, they're individually divided lots. So we
Very
could do it
nice.
that way. But while we own it, we're going to own all of them and run it just like a multifamily property.
Man, that's so freaking awesome. Well, good luck. Congratulations and get it on, man. I know you won't need much luck since you've been doing this thing for years. So I want to come back to this build to rent thing. So now we understand a little bit more about it. That's a big development, an amazing opportunity. And I've heard build to rent over and over again. So I know it's something that is, a great model, especially for the future. I like the exit strategy plan is in addition to not only can I exit the whole thing? Well, what happens if single families go up? Well, we can sell them individually and make a great return. But how did you get started in real estate? How does one even work their way up to what you just described? Like, how did that even happen? When did you start investing in real estate? You said, you were in college, you bought a few, you did, that kind of thing. And what happened next? How did you go from that to what you're doing today, man?
Well, I've always been an entrepreneur. Even when I was a small kid, I took like the lemonade stand and cookie sales on the side of the street to the extreme. I was always doing stuff for my mom to put together, my allowance and all this kind of stuff. But I wasn't going spending it on Hot Wheels or other things. I was always had some kind of project ongoing. I was in like sixth grade and I was breeding tropical parrots and stuff. And then by the
Wow.
time I was in junior high, I had poison frogs. So who do you know who actually has poison arrow frogs? I did. So
Oh,
it was
wow.
interesting. I did that all until high school, really. And I was one of those. I guess I was a lucky guy. I was on the football team and I was kind of a jock, but I was in AP classes and AP biology and all this other stuff. So I kind of got to both sides of it. And, sometimes it's kind of hard because high schools and it can be cliquey and whatnot, but I was kind of in the middle ground and it was a smaller school. So it worked out well for me in that respect. But I always had these projects that I was working on. And my senior year, I remember just kind of doing some sit-ups and stuff in my room and late at night, and they had Carlton Sheets. I don't know if you remember the old
Yeah.
infomercials,
Yeah.
of his investing program. And I never bought the program, but it got the wheels turning like, well, these people are buying these houses. How are they doing that? So I was always like, so I knew when I went to college, I wanted to buy that first house. And I went, kind of got to know the area there because it's not where I grew up. And then a couple months later, I was able to buy my first house there on my own and kept on doing that. And, but it scaled up. I mean, at first I bought a 27 unit by myself. This was before the crash. So like 2005, right when I graduated college. And that actually led me to get away from multifamily because I was not prepared to have that type of investment. I was making maybe 30 something $1,000 working at Home Depot, but they were giving loans to anybody. And I didn't
Yeah.
understand underwriting or about, that having reserves, none of that. I didn't have a mentor or co-signers. So it was just me with my little Home Depot salary. And I bought this thing. I was like, yeah, it'll cash flow. It'll pay for itself because everything's been fine with my houses. It didn't
Yep.
really work out that way because this is kind of like a C- property. And it was a rough ride because, we got close to the edge. The bank was calling me saying, we need a payment. I didn't make enough to make the payment. So I was like, I'm sending you everything I can. I was able to hold it together long enough. And then we sold it right before the crash to someone in Las Vegas and ended up
Wow.
doing okay.
Okay.
Never,
Yeah.
So I came out smelling like roses, but I was really backed in the corner the whole time. So that really made my mind shift from multifamily, which was looking back is kind of disappointing, but it was because I did it the wrong way. I did it on my own. I didn't have a mentor.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I continued the real estate thing because I loved it. So I just kept on doing remodels, buying the homes and remodeling them and renting them. I never really bought and sold a whole lot. I never really did much of the flipping stuff. I've done it since that time, but it's always been, I just kept buying them and plugging them into the portfolio.
Yeah.
And then about 7 years ago, I started to realize, well, it's a lot easier for me to just build something instead of remodeling it, because then I could end up with exactly what I want, because these remodels could go sideways on you. And so I did that. I got licensed, started building them from scratch, and a lot easier to control the budgets. You get exactly what you want. It's brand new, so the maintenance is a lot lower. And being the general contractor myself, the costs, they cash flow from day one, and you have instant equity in them. So I slowly added to that 2 of them, 4 of them, 8 of them, and then now we're doing this fund. So that's how we got there.
Yeah, that's so awesome, man. That's a tremendous story. I think it speaks to, all of the hard work that goes into the real estate, like you said, flipping, rehabbing, remodeling, all this active work. There's a ton of it. And if something goes wrong, or you get delayed, or price of lumber goes up like COVID, or, it's so hard to get permits and the time and, all the things. It just, it's so much work, effort, and energy, as opposed to holding on to it and owning it, and holding it for a long time. And, I think I've heard this a number of times. The real wealth in real estate is not in flipping it or selling it. It's in holding it. And I think the hard part is just having the position, or being in the ability to hold it forever. But that's the long-term goal. I did the same for 10 years, single family. We bought and we held. It just took so long to save up this money. I didn't want to sell it. I was like, man, I'm just going to hold it forever. And, that kind of changed a little bit with multifamily, but man, that's awesome. So how long did you've been in construction development? Kind of give us a little bit of that background. Did you do that for yourself only? Were you a contractor also? Did you own your own business? What's some of that, so everyone can
originally
understand that?
got my first license as a remodeler, because I was doing these remodels, buying these houses and fixing them up to rent them out. And where we are, you have to, once it gets above a certain dollar amount, you have to be licensed. Even though it's not new construction, you still have to have a certain license and insurances for that. So that was the first license that I got, so that I could, because I was just doing all the remodeling work myself with the guys who worked for me. And then a few years later, I was like, well, let's just get the next level up on the license, which is the builder's license. And you have to take a test and do a few more things, and it's more insurance. But then we did that. So now we're residential and commercially licensed.
Got it. That's awesome. And so all the way through, when did build to rent come into play? Like, how did this, was this year? Was it kind of a thought process that you already had, or?
No, it was just something that naturally came, because I was shifting from always trying to find the right house to fix and remodel. I was like, well, there's this, I would get one house and it'd have some vacant land on the side. So I was like, I could build one right here. And then I did that a few times. And then it got to be where I was buying some old houses and either moving them off or demolishing them, and I could put 2 there. Yeah. And so it's just a natural progression.
To a 100 unit community now.
Right.
Well, that's awesome, man. So what's this total size of this deal that you're working on?
Well, this 100 unit is probably going to be about a $10 million project.
Okay.
But within the fund, our goal is to have multiple projects ongoing. We're already looking at the second site, and we have the fund model so that we could do the entitlement process on multiple tracks simultaneously, because that's where you reach the holdup. I think you have a development project you're working on, aren't you? So you'd understand that process and how much time there is. Before you even get to touch
all
a
the
shovel,
things you're like, golly, it's completely unexpected for me. And I'm working with, I just try to bring in as many pros at this point as I can. I'm like, come on. Yeah. But yeah, dude, unexpected from the timing.
You spend so much, it's like the iceberg. There's so much underneath before you even get to what you can see. So
yeah,
that's why we want to have all that
working on the
entitlement
second part in front of you.
Right. So we want to have that entitlement process going on multiple tracks in multiple locations. We plan on doing them all in the Southeast and maybe in Texas. And then that way when they hit and they're through entitlement, we'll have those options to go to where we have our economies of scale, where we hopefully would have 2 or 3 in the same MSA. So I could have even better supplier and subcontractor negotiation, as we move about and do this throughout the Southeast. So it's a $40 million fund. So we plan on doing a couple thousand houses over the next, so many years.
Wow. These numbers are just, I'm in the space, and sometimes, even and I have to reel back and I go, $40 million. It just seems like this crazy, massive amount of money sometimes. And then you see a deal that gets, $30 million deal, and it took
one deal could gobble it all up. Yeah.
You're like, okay, that's it. There it goes pretty quickly. I'm just amazed at this stuff. So were you, in terms of your mindset, are you, what am I trying to ask? And I'm kind of thinking about my personal mindset and not trying to put it on you, but how did you even start to deal with these dollar amounts, in your head? Was it something you were very comfortable with? Oh, got to $30 million of my own. Now I'm going to do a $40 million fund, or did it take you some work, effort, and energy to kind of put yourself in the right position to be able to jump in this mentally?
Definitely a little bit of both. As I was thinking about the fund and the size of it all, and just starting to do it more with other partners and investors, because so far everything's been my own money, but now I'm partnering and bringing in investors, which makes it even more important to make sure that I'm doing the right things there. And so there's a lot of prayer involved to make sure that that's the direction I wanted to go in. But I also feel very comfortable doing it because I've built a whole lot of units.
Yeah.
And I believe in the way we do it. The end product is easy to rent. Before we even finish, I have people driving up wanting to move into these things. And this
to rent a new house is pretty awesome.
Yeah. And so they're really easy to rent. We design them, because you're not putting lipstick on a pig. The whole thing is new. It's exactly what you want. So we put some vaulted ceilings in certain spots to make it feel a lot bigger, even though they're 1,200 square feet. They feel a lot bigger than that. And I mean, they stay rented, and generally we're getting 2-year leases on most of this stuff. So we have less turnover. Like you said, people want to be in houses. They tend to stay longer than someone in a normal multifamily.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Well, that's awesome. I like the word prayerful, of course. So many of my, biggest mistakes is when I wasn't with him, and all of my biggest successes are when I was. So that's awesome, man, that you're staying, prayerful. And what kind of effect does this have on you personally, your family life, that kind of thing? And man, I just love to peel back the onion a little bit on, what's going on with you.
Well, my wife doesn't have much to do, anything to do with my real estate. Because early on, I probably turned her off to it. It used to be when I was doing all the work on these places, I was there till 10:30 at night. We were like newlyweds, and that wasn't a good start. So the first couple of years was really rough. And then I grew to where I had other guys doing the work. It got a little bit better. It was almost like out of sight, out of mind for her.
Yeah.
As long as I was there, I still used to leave some on the weekends and go get away and do some work. But now that I have kids, I try not to do that too much either, so that I could spend that time with the family and do some stuff for her as well around the house to help out.
Yeah.
So it is, but it's when we have these businesses that we, in the real estate in particular, allows us to do other things.
Yeah.
To where it doesn't have to take up all your time if you do it the right way.
Mm-hmm.
The right, structure, the right type of, checks and balances in place to where you can stay on top of things. That's the great thing about real estate when you do it the right way, and you're bringing in other people. So it's not just me. I have other partners that are going to be coming in on the fund. They normally handle asset management, investor relations, all those things that I've never really done much of before. I don't want to have to reinvent the wheel. They're good at it. Plug them in. And they'll make sure everyone gets taken care of, and we can be as efficient as possible.
Yeah, that's so awesome, man. Well, congratulations. And I love the mindset, for that you have. It sounds like she put up with a lot of things when you were younger, building the business, and now you're finally in an opportunity where, yes, you're business system, partnership, team, and you can spend some more time with the little ones. How old are your little ones again?
3, 5, and 7.
That's awesome. I have the 3 and the 1, and I'm super excited with even this age. I can't wait till, I get to take them more with me and do the things with me and that kind of thing. So like the flexibility.
Nothing like being a parent, for sure.
Yeah, man. So with everything that you've done, and everything that you've, created for yourself, your family, business partners, your future investors, what do you think one or two, nuggets or gems that you can provide somebody that's listening, whether they're passive investors, they're trying to figure out where's the best place to put my money, or active, I'm trying to figure out how to make this happen. What, insight could you give to them that, it's just the pearl of wisdom for us, that, just to apply across the board? What, if you can summarize a couple of things, man?
Well, I mean, the two very different things there. I think for me, if I had unlimited capital, then I would just be a passive investor. So if you have a great job where you're producing it, I mean, that's the ticket. I like the analogy of the airplane. You have the pilot and then you have the passengers, so you can pick which one you want to be. If you want to be active, you're the pilot or the crew. You have to get the training, put in the hours, start with the small airplane, move on up. So eventually you start doing these bigger projects. They spent 50,000 hours in the air, all these other different airplanes and training to get to that point. And they'll eventually, and they can still get to the destination. But then you have the passengers who could just buy their ticket along for the ride, get served along the way, and they still get to this great destination. And you could even decide to put in a little bit more and get first class. So, I would choose to do it if I could do first class. But, even though I was a pre-med student, I didn't go to med school. So I don't have, the high income earning potential like that. I have to go out and be active and do it. So, if you choose to be active, the most important thing is just who you associate with. Even if you can't afford to get, an official mentor or coaching, you can still associate with those people. You could reach out to people. You can start to benefit and join and get around. And so you're in their conversations and start to learn from those people, because I didn't do that for the longest time. Technology nowadays makes it so easy to rub shoulders with these people. I was just doing it alone. Yeah, I read my books. I had the knowledge and stuff, but it's not the same, because in the moment, when you're alongside those other people, they could pull you up and they could also say, look out for that. Maybe you forgot this. Whereas if you're just trying to do it yourself, you're going to end up paying for some of those mistakes. So it's definitely worthwhile to team up, partner up when you can, give up a piece of the pie. That way you're learning from these other folks. And then passive investing, it's really just about the people, vetting the operator. If the people are right, you're comfortable with them, you trust them, then you trust them to find the right project for you. And then that'll lead to the profit. And then the last P, because I like the 4 Ps, the last one is philanthropy. Because if you have the right people doing and then the right project, it'll profit for you. And then we could give back from that project and, through our philanthropy, helping out charities, doing great things in these communities for these families.
People, project, profit, and philanthropy. The 4 Ps, huh?
That's it.
Man, that's awesome. No, I agree 100%. The partnering and networking to find those right people is probably what helped me the most in the commercial real estate side. And single family, like you said, you can kind of do it on your own. And if you want to go bigger, you can still kind of do it on your own. But when there's more moving parts, bigger scale, it definitely, you want to team up with some amazing people and to kind of help you through that. We're all in it for profit. We're not just, giving away.
If you're
our
not
time.
making a profit, you won't be around very long, regardless. So you want to. That's what greases the wheels.
Mm-hmm. And then philanthropy. What are some of the ways you try to give back or you enjoy doing so?
Well, I mean, with the fund, what we hope to do is when we go into these markets and we start developing, we're going to look at 2 or 3 local charities there, and then we'll probably send out a newsletter to our investors and let them kind of vote on which one we want to pour into for that next year, and say, this is what we're doing. This is how much we were able to give. And my wife is already on board with that. She doesn't do the real estate, but she's like, yeah, I'll do that.
That's a great way.
I'll go meet with these charities and pick it, because she's big into taking care of other, giving is her gift. So she's gifted in that manner, and so I'm more than happy to let her do that. And I think it's a cool way for our investors to see that we're really doing something, that they could have input into what charities we like in those areas, because there's great smaller charities that really are able to do more with what you give them.
Yeah.
That's really what we want to try to do.
That's outstanding, man. What a great way to kind of maneuver. And these bigger deals, they a lot for a little extra of that piece of the pie. You can give these amazing, just contributions. I know, well, I'll speak for myself personally. We were involved, with Steve and Integrity over there on that deal in Dallas, and we did a 120 unit deal, and a piece of that general partner pie goes to a nonprofit. And, I've been able to, when you think about the time for 5 years, really sewing into some of these organizations, I would have never been able to write a check with commas in it to give back to an organization, outside of tithe, that's probably the biggest area. Outside of that, it's like that, wouldn't have been able to do it on my own. But now as we pull a collective together in a fund like this or a deal like that, then, you have that ability to give like you've never given before, I would imagine. Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. It's just, it multiplies your impact. Just like it multiplies the income, all the numbers are multiplied. If you have the right operators who are focused on that, it'll multiply the impact that we can make.
That's awesome, man. Well, a lot of success, a lot of blessings to you and everything that you're doing, man. This is going to be fun. Hello. You're listening to the 5Talents podcast. I'm your host, Abel Pacheco. If you're enjoying this podcast, then I know you're serious about achieving financial freedom. Are you ready to create your own path through multifamily investing for yourself and your family? Then I know you're going to appreciate our Investor's Guide to Multifamily Investing. It's titled Tackling Commercial Real Estate the Easy Way. We use this guide to invest ourselves in $93 million worth of real estate. So we're going to show you the basic mechanics of multifamily syndications and how to evaluate your next passive investment opportunity. So the best part, if you subscribe to our podcast now, leave us a review and a rating. I'm going to give you a free copy of our ebook. So please take a moment to do that now. Once you've done that, go to 5tcre.com/ebook, 5tcre.com/ebook. Make sure to let us know you left a review, and we're going to send you a free copy. So thank you so much for subscribing to the 5Talents podcast. We really appreciate it. So on the part, give some people some insight on like choosing the right partners. So it sounds like that was a big part of your success for this next stage or phase in your career. How did you choose the right partners, and what insight can you give everybody that's listening?
Well, it's a long ongoing process, because it wasn't just, hey, you want to do this with me. I mean, we've had multiple meetings. We keep going through things, refining them, and kind of deciding what buckets go here, what goes there, who's going to do what, and making sure that we have the process in place on reporting, where the information is going to flow, to make sure that we're on top of budgets and, variances with construction, all these different types of things. And then on the other side, we're going to have asset management as we start to rent these out. So we have to make sure the property management, all that gets managed. So, we really had multiple meetings over a course of months to make sure that we're all comfortable with each other. We built that trust before we said, okay, let's go ahead and do this. And then we're ready to sign on. So it's really been a drawn out thing, because these folks in this fund, one of them I know have known for years and years. The rest it's relatively new, but they have great reputations. They so we've looked into everything that they've already done, and we could build on that. So, we're just getting to know each other a lot better before we decide to say, let's go ahead and do this.
Yeah, that sounds like the absolute right way. I would tell you that. A lot of time, attention to detail, drawn out structure, roles and responsibilities months prior. And I think some people miss in this area, which is they have a deal and they're like, hey, I'd like to work with you together now, and kind of quickly draw up a team, right? Which, who
Well,
knows
you
how
can
that's
learn
going
on
to
the
work
go.
out.
Sometimes a wheel or two might, go into the curve or start hitting the bumps, if you're learning on the
Yeah.
go. But, the more you plan, I can't remember what the exact statistics are on it, but for every hour you spend planning, it saves you 10 hours of time or something. I don't know the exact number, but it's a big impact. Whenever you lay things out ahead of time, it could really
Yeah.
make up for, just kind of running around with your head chopped off. So.
Man, I think I've heard that at least one other time, and I want to kind of find that one out, because that makes a lot of sense. I know that with more planning, you're going to have more success, and then with many different minds, you're going to have better counsel between
Right.
4 or 5 of us, as opposed to just one on your own. And I guess that was a transition that was helpful for you. It sounds like going from a couple deals to like, oh, now we're going to do a $40 million fund.
Right. Yeah. And that's one of their main concerns is like, well, you've been doing this on your own. Are you going to
Yeah.
have a problem with us giving input? And it's like, no, I really don't, because, y'all aren't going to be telling me how to build them. I handle all of that.
Yeah.
Y'all are dealing with the asset management and investor relations, which is not stuff that I normally deal with.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think the more like-minded people we have on this to kind of help steer everything, it's just that makes everything that much safer for our investors. We're able to satisfy them, take care of them the proper way. So I don't see a downside to having, more partners that you could kind of lean on and count on to help push everything in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is awesome, man. Thank you very much for illuminating some of this stuff. I like your people, profit, project, and philanthropy, and I like the approach on the partnership and team. And I think all of that is outstanding. So, help me understand. Let's say for a passive investor, right? So we probably have a good mixed audience, passive investors and also active investors. And for the passive investors, what are some of the things they should be looking at when they're determining which deal to do, how to put their money in, and just in general, any pearls of wisdom on this area too?
Well, I think again, it comes down to the operator. That's the main factor, because in real estate, I've bought all kinds of stuff, all kinds of places, and I think there's good deals everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
They exist. We create them, because we're building these. But the real estate is always going to be there. That's not the most important factor. It's who you're working with. You want to make sure that you're comfortable with them, because if you're not, that'll lead to some problems down the road for you. If you just kind of start getting short with one another or start having some frustrations. So you want to make sure that it's someone that you kind of jive with. And that as a passive investor, you're okay just handing over the key, saying, here, drive us there. Because
Yeah.
a lot of people have trouble with that. It's their hard-earned money, but that's why you want to make sure that you have the right pilot in the airplane. So if you don't like them, don't get on the plane.
Yeah.
It's that simple. And the deal's kind of secondary. It is important, but I think if you trust the person and you like the basic metrics that we all know about, as far as the IRRs and the equity multiple or cash on cash, those things are important. But the main consideration should be the person, and then the deal comes after that. And just making sure that you see what they're trying to do and think they could accomplish it, knowing what you know about that person or that group. And we're a fund, so we're a little bit of a longer time frame, making sure that you understand the operation of that deal. Are they trying to get out too quick? Do you think they could really do that? Or am I going to be put into more properties through this one investment, like in our case? So a lot of variables in that respect.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Those are all important factors. The deal, the team, and the market, kind of what I preach on all the time. And you can have a decent deal and a bad team, and it's not going to do well. You can have an amazing team and in a so-so deal and still do pretty well, especially in a good market. So absolutely 100% agreement with you. And even on the passive side, like you said, I may not have to have the meeting where we're going to determine how to operate the deal. However, if as a passive investor, we're working together with a general partner team for several years, right? So I want to make sure my mission goals are aligned and have alignment. And if so, it's easier for us to be in alignment there. Risk adjusted returns, length of time for hold, communication, et cetera, et cetera. And so for any passive investors listening, I always tell everyone, you want to lay these relationships ahead of time, in advance, network like crazy, try to find other people like Derek or myself, because the last thing you want to do is be in a position where you just met somebody yesterday and then they have a deal tomorrow and you're trying to make this decision like so last minute. You don't have a time to vet that an individual or team. So if you do that now, timing is everything. I may find a team that I like, but I don't have my capital today. They're doing a deal and I don't have $50K in hand. At the end of the year, I may fit $50K, but that team doesn't have a deal. So the more options that you have, kind of the better it is. And I like the build to rent option as well, man. That sounds awesome. So
yeah.
For this, mindset too, on the passive investor side, one of the other things that I'll tell the passive investors is those returns on the same subject, the returns are projected that are put out there. It's so crucial that how your team kind of intends to operate it, their assumptions. And, some people are more risky than others. And I'm not saying it's good or bad, but if you're super conservative and the team's super risky, like you want to make sure you're with the team that finds alignment there. So that's good stuff, Derek. Thanks for sharing, man.
Yeah.
Well, before I forget this too, if somebody wants to reach out to you and, either invest with you, learn about you, determine how we're going to partner in the future, et cetera, what's the best place for them to go reach out to you, brother?
They could find me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty easy to reach on there. Invest with Drinko. Or they could type in my whole name. I'm the only one, but that's a lot of letters to remember. And then they could go to realwealthrealimpact.com.
Mm-hmm.
And then, they could feel free to reach out and get in touch with me. I look forward to talking to anyone.
Who's the ideal person to reach out to? Who do you actually want to connect with?
Well, I mean, the anyone who has questions about build to rent or fund, I'm happy to answer their questions and kind of guide them through that. But for folks who are trying to decide where they want to put some passive investments this year, I think we have a great model, and I'm excited about it. So I'd be happy to talk to any of those passive guys that really want to come for a ride on this fund, because like I said, we're doing a couple thousand houses. We'll have a lot of capital events, and they get a little shot in the arm with each of those, and along with the preferred returns and all that nice stuff that we have set up. So.
Yeah, that's great, man. That's great. Everything that we're doing to get out there, I would say I have a lot of people that reach out to me. They go, man, I didn't know if I was going to be able to talk with you, or I heard your voice and now I'm talking to you on the phone. It's kind of unreal. And the reason I say that is the reason we do this podcast, and probably the reason Derek's on here, and the reason I do so many of these, is I try to provide education, coaching, mentorship at scale through learning through somebody like Derek, right? There's no way I would have been able to we've had like 18,000 downloads on our show. I think we started in September, and I've been super blessed because a lot of people have gotten some great education. Also, in addition to that, I have people that reach out to me, and I always have somebody say, I don't know if they were going to reach out, or I didn't know what to say to you, or I didn't know if you were going to take my call. You realize Derek's on the show because he wants you to reach out to him. So please take advantage of that.
That's exactly it. I mean, that's how we find the most people who are interested. So definitely need to reach out, because we can't find you otherwise. I don't go, sending out the DMs on LinkedIn. Don't want to be one of those guys, so.
Yeah. So I'm long-winded and all that to say, like, yes, Derek wants you to reach out to him. We're serious about it. Otherwise we wouldn't be doing these shows. Same with me, man. Reach out and happy to help you through this. Well, is there anything we didn't talk about today? Anything that, you wanted to bring some extra exposure to, or, any insights for listeners or guests, man, anything in general, take as much time as you need.
Let's see. I think we covered a pretty good amount. I mean, I'm excited about the fund. I hope people, are excited about it as I am. But I'm more excited about the impact we're going to have in these communities as we go forward, because I could just see what we're going to be doing with for families in those areas, and the bigger impact that we could have. That's the main reason why we're going to have great returns. We're going to end up owning some great assets, but we're going to have a huge impact, because as a parent, I kind of get choked up on this a lot, because I have the pictures of my kids like on the dash in my truck, and then I look down and like, they don't look like that anymore. And it hasn't been that long. They're not that old.
Yeah.
So we only have so long with our children. And I think of these parents that are out there struggling, trying to provide the best for their children that they love. There's so many ways that we could help people. And it's so important, because I think with this multifamily, with these funds, with these larger assets, it makes it so much simpler for us to just team up and to have even larger impacts, like I know you are with your investments, and Steven is. So we're doing that across the board. We're starting to have a huge impact cumulatively as we move forward, which I'm really excited about.
Yeah, man, it's something special. And we're doing, as you know, our impact investment with Ellis and Steven, and we're, just super excited that we get to put a nonprofit, Apartment Life, into this deal or opportunity where they have a direct improvement on the community we invest in, and a faith-based nonprofit. And the offers is, it's just amazing to be able to like give back at the same time. We trying to make our return, have a good living, have a good lifestyle. We do all that, create wealth, help other people achieve financial freedom. So that's our big goal in 2020. We're trying to help 100 new investors at least get one step closer to their financial freedom, and help them on their journey. And so that's kind of the goal there. And man, it's just an amazing opportunity to help other people achieve those and also give back at the same time. So it's, donation, charity, philanthropy, tithe, however you want to, kind of sow back. It's pretty cool, man. So that's great.
Absolutely.
Thanks for sharing that. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, God bless you, brother. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. We'll see you on our next pod, our power pod, Thursday, 8:30. I won't miss it. And
get off Clubhouse, Abel. Come on.
Yeah, I know. So I look forward to talking to you again, man. And Derek, it's been amazing. Again, my name is Abel Pacheco. I'm your host for the 5Talents podcast. If you heard something that provided some value today, go subscribe to our show. We would really appreciate it. Leave us a rating and written review. Those things go a long way. We're doing very well on, the subscribers, listeners, downloads. And that's because you are listening and taking the time to kind of give back. And just with a simple rating review, I get to have more amazing guests like Derek and on the show. And if Derek provided some insight or something that helped him, go, reach out to him. He'd love to get in touch with you and see how you guys might be able to partner together. So Derek, thank you, brother.
Thanks for having me, man. I enjoyed it.
All right. Talk soon.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the 5Talents podcast with your host, myself, Abel Pacheco. Each week, we're going to bring you interviews from industry experts and commercial real estate investors who follow their dreams and achieve massive success. Before you leave, let me ask you a few questions. Did you enjoy this episode? Did you learn something valuable? Was your mind stretched to what's possible and what you can achieve? Do you want other experts just like the one you heard today? If you answered yes to any or all of those questions, then please take a moment to subscribe to the 5Talents podcast, give us a 5-star rating, and most importantly, leave us a written review. Tell us what you liked, tell us your favorite guest, give us any feedback. I'm excited to learn and improve so you can get a more valuable show. So thank you again for subscribing to the 5Talents podcast.